What's going on, you guys? Coming to you today with some Legion terrain, and I am actually using some of this gap filler. This is basically spray on a foam, and it's going to expand and stuff, and I'm going to do all kinds of crazy stuff with this. But I'm gonna experiment. I've seen people shoot this out into big little puddles, and it expands in this big, and it expands quite a bit. So I'm gonna lay down some parchment paper first, but instead of just making a big bubble, I want to do some dynamic terrain, more multi-layer stuff. I'm gonna cut this. I got this one other little piece of foam here. I'm gonna try and make a skeleton out of it and cut a few pieces out of this first. Use some some wooden little thingy things to kind of make a skeleton frame and see what we can come up with. So I just cut out a piece here, and basically the goal, I want to try and have something that's going to slope up, a gradual slope up, and then maybe an underneath part where people can pass through. So almost like a bridge, right? And then I'm going to cut some of these other pieces and kind of pop off. I'm going to make this one kind of thinner. And I'm cutting one at angles, all kinds of stuff like that. I might, do this. I'll cut this flat. Yeah. So this can go in here, kind of like that, and I'll cut a little higher. I'm just kind of brainstorming right here. I don't really have too much of a plan. Maybe something like, maybe something like that, and then I can have another piece go over the top, kind of like that. I'm gonna stick some little toothpicks in here and see what we can get. So basically the toothpick theory works pretty well, so I'm going to stick one in here like that. I'm going to stick this piece in there. Okay, now we've got our top part, and it's very important to try to have some flat pieces for your terrain. And I'm going to stick this toothpick in here like so. It's okay if it's sticking out a little bit because foam's going to cover all of that. And there we go. Now we've got some dynamic skeleton. I'm going to fill all that with foam. This is probably all going to get filled up with foam anyway. We'll see what happens. I'm going to go try and get some parchment paper laid down to protect myself. All right, so I got my parchment paper. I decided I'm probably going to end up using most of this whole thing, so I just cut up the rest of these. And I'm just making a couple more skeletons. We'll see what comes out of it. I have no idea. Ow! So don't poke yourself with those, because that could be a little bit crazy. There we go. And I'm breaking these up, and I'm just making all kinds of interesting different shapes. I'm going to see kind of how this, I don't even know. I don't even have a plan. I would like to be able to get one really high. That much would be kind of cool. I don't know if I'll really be able to do it or not. Oh, it's going to yell at me for using up all of the toothpicks, though. Oh, that's going to be cool. There. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Maybe here, too? Or maybe this way. Oh, yeah, we'll go that way. We'll extend it over. We'll do like an overwatch. Yeah, we'll go this way. Okay. So look at this one right here. We're just doing, this looks like a little puppy dog. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. We will see. All right, so I've got all these pieces now, and this one was just a smaller one. I don't know what that one is. We're gonna see. All right, let's start off with this one first. Shake this up really good. Don't touch any of this stuff with your skin. This is sandable stuff. There we go. What's going all over the place? It doesn't like this. It doesn't want to stick to it. We'll see. All right, I ain't touching that one anymore. That one could be cool. All right. Let's do the rest. pieces all over the place. What's everywhere? See, I'm gonna sand this when I'm all done, but oh, it's tipping over. I don't want it to touch the other piece. Oh well, there's no stopping that now. I might have done too much. Maybe I didn't do enough. We'll see. And we're almost out. I'm glad I cut a little extra. This is all crazy. Some of this is probably going to turn out really bad. We'll see. Maybe I get one piece I can salvage from it. Alright, so I got it all on there. A lot of it spilled over. My arch is still pretty much there though. So this is going to be interesting. We'll see how it turns out. But I've got to let this whole thing dry for a long time, a couple hours. It's going to expand, and then we'll come back later and see how it looks. Alright, so I've come back a couple hours later now, and look at... I didn't cover all of this well enough, so as a first-timer, this piece, big fail, right? I didn't get the bottom. That's okay, because I planned on, like, once I cut this, I'm going to go back over it with probably some clay. So this one came out pretty well, except it was supposed to stand upright like this. And then it fell over. So now it's kind of like this, and that can work too. That can work. But this one came out actually really well. Because I've got my underneath, I got my undercropping and my overcropping. So basically what I'm going to do at this point is just try to shave some of these parts off to keep it flat up here. After all the rulings and stuff about flatness, you know, I'm just gonna cut this. Keep it flat, and I will be going over it. It doesn't have to be perfect here. I'm going to go over it with clay afterwards and, you know, just trying to flatten it out. So come to find out that, like, using a hacksaw works a little bit easier than trying to use this thing, because this thing is, like, for plastic, so I won't have the right tools. There's better knives you can probably use. For example, this makes a real nice clean cut. You know, so I'm just kind of going over. I want this part to be nice and flat, and oh, my blade just fell off. Look at that. So I better tighten that up a little bit. Alright, so I've pretty much got this thing to a good enough spot. I've got this part kind of smoothed out, a little bit smoothed out on the side, smoothed out on the top. Now I'm going to fill it in with clay. Now I've got two types of clay here. I've got this cheap Crayola clay. This will crack. Then I've got a nicer polyform model clay. This one will not crack, but that was more expensive. So I'm going to use the rest of this cheaper clay to fill in all the bigger pieces. And then I'll go back over and, you know, like let this dry, and then if it cracks, I'll fill it in with the nicer clay. Just because this is This is really just here to give me the body. And I don't really even know. I'll be honest with you. I've never done this before. So you can learn at my expense. I'm okay with that. This is a shared experience. I may end up putting like little steps into all of this. I'm not sure. But the idea here is that this should be flat enough, or mostly flat enough, that units can come up here and get up on this perch. And, you know, and kind of look down at some Imperials or some Rebels who walking below and just mess them up. So I'm gonna put lots of clay all over this thing. All right, so this is all dried, and I've got a little bit more up here that I think I want to put a little more in. I'm going to fill this in a little more, and I've kind of carved out some of these to make them look like a little bit more rocky outcroppings. I think I'm going to do this whole thing as a big rock, and then make it snow covered at the end. I've got some snow that I'm going to put over the top of it. So I also want to prime it in black, so it'll make the boulders kind of stand out, and then I can dry brush white over certain areas and then go harder white over other areas. Now, one thing before I prime is I'm taking my better clay here and I'm filling in some of the holes on the top. I want this top area to be a really sturdy place that I can fit miniatures on. And I'm a little loose over here too, so I'm going to try to reinforce some of this underneath. But I'm just putting this on here. Trying to sculpt it a little bit with my fingers. This is air dry too, so I don't have to bake it or anything. Alright, so now I'm going to prime. I'm just using cheaper primer here, and I got all of this. I wanted it to be more flush with the ground in the front. I balanced it a little bit too, and we're going to try to prime it all in black. Let's see what happens. Oh, this is looking pretty cool already. It's actually looking really cool. And the foam is absorbing a lot of this stuff. And some parts of it are kind of deteriorating a little bit, so it's going to have an interesting finish. There. Here's how it looks so far. Alright, so here we are. Basically it's dried now, and I'm gonna, before I start painting it in white, I'm gonna take some Corax white and just spray it with a little bit of white primer directly from above. I should be doing this outside. But I just want to kind of get at that look. Alright, so this is kind of just a close-up now. And we're going to do a lot more to it, especially once we add the snow particles. Alright, so I've brought everything over to my other table here, and I've got X-Wing ships in the way, but I got nowhere else to put all this stuff, so... But yes, so we're going to basically just start painting now, and I've just mixed some craft paint in with a little bit of water. I'm going to start on the top here, just going over everything. I'm going to do it thickest on the top, and I'll do it thinner on certain sides where I want to kind of make sure that like rock formations are kind of protruding. And what I'm basically also going to do is I'm going to put my my snow onto the parts that are already done, because the snow is just going to stick to the paint. If you put it on there when it's really wet, that's going to generally look best. here, I'm just going to dry brush, or like light, not really dry brush, but just kind of lightly overcropping, because these are like the rock formations. Some of these at least. Alright, so now I'm going to be using Cinerama Snow, and this is, I've used this before. Basically it's just like a white powder that I'm going to cut open and sprinkle kind of liberally all across my wet surfaces. Now, they generally say to use like a spray-on glue with this, but from my experience, the snow itself is definitely wet enough. And this is going to give it a real nice texture. And I just want this on the top surface of everything. It kind of gives the impression of freshly fallen snow. One of the things about this, though, is that like when you move this piece around afterwards, you're going to see lots of this snow fall off. Like parts of it are, you're going to have to give it a thorough dusting once you're done. You can put it thicker in some areas. You can even mix it with a little bit of paint if you want it to be a little bit pasty. Alright, so it's all spun around and completed, and this is basically it. It is, I meant to have some more dynamic terrain with some higher range stuff that people can jump up, climb up on, take advantage of movement, take advantage of vertical distance, while also having some stuff for the folks down below, and that's kind of what this area here is for. So you can have your infantry and your speeder bikes and stuff go underneath, no problem, but it's a little bit too narrow for the larger units like the walkers to walk underneath. So that much is kind of cool. But let me know what you think, guys. This one really wasn't as much about, I mean, it was partially about trying a new technique, but it was also about trying to make terrain that's just not, you know, that's different than just a blocking, you know, just different than just a boulder, something that is going to have more interactions. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and there's still time to enter that giveaway, so you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.